You're watching This Week in Louisiana Politics with Fred Childers.
Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Fred Childers. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. This week, the debate around masks and vaccines came to a head at two public hearings that dissolved into shouting crowds, essentially. Political reporter Shannon Heckt was at both of those meetings and breaks down what happened and what comes next.
Fred, both of the meetings were to hear public input on the current mask mandate and possible exemptions from any future vaccine mandates. Only one of the meetings were able to hold a vote, but people had to be forcibly removed, and one meeting even ended early due to the chaos. Take a look at what happened at the state capitol on Monday.
Everybody take their mask off. They can't see all of us out here.
A public hearing dissolves quickly into shouting and debate over requiring masks.
All of our freedom.
The House Health and Welfare Committee was forced into recess as members of the public were removed from the hearing after being told to wear masks or leave the room. This led into the debate on if students and school staff should be mandated to wear them. State Health Officer Dr. Joseph Cantor testified, saying that a normal school year would not be able to take place without masks based on the current and worst surge happening now.
It's statewide, it's corner to corner. By the number of new cases diagnosed each day, it's #1 in the country right now.
Members of the public argued that masking a child should be a parent's choice and that vaccines should be optional. Representatives grilled Dr. Cantor on the effectiveness of masks and how severe the hospitalization situation is around the state.
We are seeing more kids get sick with Delta right now than we have before. We're seeing more admissions in pediatric age groups to hospitals.
Leaders of the major universities in the area shared their vaccine plans. Once approved by the FDA, schools like LSU, Southern, and University of Louisiana will add it to their immunization requirements. But students can still opt out.
If we were in the midst of a pandemic and they checked the box that for personal reasons they are not going to be vaccinated, we would of course accept that. But more than likely, they would be part of some kind of testing protocol.
The hearing continued for over 4 hours to allow the public to speak after the officials. Then on Wednesday, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education met to discuss the mask mandate by the governor in schools. They were to hear debate on the issue and then vote on if the school district should be the ones to mandate masks against the governor's order. But a crowd of anti-maskers took over. People drove in from around the state to voice their opinions on the mask mandate in schools. After waiting for over 2 hours, people began demanding that the Bessie board return from executive session.
Please allow us to have an orderly meeting. That way we can hear every single person here.
But when they were told to put their masks on, the crowd erupted.
Thank you.
The board was supposed to debate potential exemptions from the mask mandate for students, but a majority of the crowd refused to leave or mask up, so the board voted to end early, which left people feeling that their voices went unheard.
We don't want our kids to have to wear the mask all day, and yet we won't put it on for 5 minutes to fight for them. It's like we're destroying our cause.
Some came in support of the mandate, saying masking is the only way to slow down the worst surge of the pandemic and to protect children who cannot get vaccinated.
If parents and adults cannot do their job and protect their children from COVID-19 during the most deadly surge that we're seeing in Louisiana, then the schools are going to have to step up and do it for them.
It is not clear if or when Bessie will take up the topic again. These meetings have been seen all around the state as schools reopen, and Louisiana is still in the peak of the fourth and worst surge of the virus. Fred?
All right, thank you, Shannon. We're just days away from the Saints' first preseason home game, and after public and political scrutiny, the Saints have adopted a new refund policy, allowing fans to give up their season tickets and get their money back. The Saints plan to fill the Superdome for home games this season, but say that in accordance with local and state protocols, fans must wear masks and show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test 72 hours before a game. Requests for refunds are due on Tuesday. Also at the state capitol this week, the Gaming Control Board approved new rules to speed up the arrival of sports betting. The betting is expected to be available through the state's 20 riverboat and land-based casinos as early as fall's football season. The licenses allow for you to bet online as well, unless you're in one of the 9 parishes who voted against the measure. The emergency rules are in place for 180 days. The Attorney General's office says permanent rules will be in place before they expire. Well, the vaccine mandate debate continues. As we mentioned earlier, the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board is now requiring staff to show proof of vaccination or undergo weekly testing. It does not mandate vaccinations, but it does require staff to share their vaccination status. Unvaccinated staff will receive weekly rapid testing, but there is a way for employees to opt out of testing. The board sent out a list of excuses recognized under state law.
It's about working to keep our faculty, staff, and students safe, and trying to make sure we can mitigate against the Delta variant.
Now, students will be able to get tested starting on Monday. They will need a parent's consent. The city of New Orleans has taken another step toward getting more people vaccinated. The city is now mandating all city employees and public-facing personnel to submit proof of vaccination or go through routine COVID-19 testing. Mayor LaToya Cantrell says the order is now in effect and testing will begin on August 30th. The United States withdrawal from Afghanistan is causing concerns around the world, and it really hit home for veterans who served in Afghanistan. Kenny Lopez spoke to a New Orleans veteran at the VFW about his thoughts on the current events.
When you fly back to wherever it is that you came from and you finished a job and you felt successful, and then you see it just kind of crumble.
Lots of mixed emotions right now for Chris Cox, the VFW commander of Post 8973 in New Orleans. He served in Afghanistan as a Marine for 6 months, part of Operation Conjar in 2009.
So the Marines would move in and try to reestablish some security for the people who lived in those villages. The people that just have no hope, the people that know that, any sense of security that they may have is short-lived.
Cox feels he and his fellow Marines are going through a grieving process now that the decision was made to pull U.S. troops out of Afghanistan.
Painful to see that our best efforts and our highest hopes didn't have the impact that we wanted.
Still, he's remembering their efforts with pride, but it's tough.
Does it feel like what we did was for nothing? When a doctor performs a surgery or prolongs the health and tries to improve someone's living condition, yet they go on to get sick again and die, does that mean that their efforts didn't mean anything?
And Cox keeps replaying moments like this one when he showed off his camera to kids in Afghanistan. And now his heart hurts for those he crossed paths with.
The good families that I met that are over there suffering right now and trying to survive.
He says he feels powerless now, but is just trying to remember.
We can't go and do something now. Should not be a burden. We did our best when we could. I don't believe that our efforts, our best efforts, are wasted.
Coming up after the break, members of the Louisiana delegation are trying to get more help to fight COVID-19 as the state approaches the peak of the fourth surge. And the latest on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. As he recovers from his second COVID diagnosis, Congressman Clay Higgins sent a letter to the governor to expand the availability of monoclonal antibody treatments. The treatments are often given to unvaccinated people in high-risk categories during the early onset of COVID to help reduce the severity of their symptoms. Congressman Higgins is asking for the treatment to be more available in rural areas. U.S. Representative Troy Carter told the Biden administration Louisiana is in crisis and wants them to come see for themselves. The congressman requested the Health and Human Services Secretary to visit the state to see how the surge is devastating Louisiana. With over 3,000 people hospitalized with the virus in recent days, he says the state needs more federal resources to handle the outbreak of the Delta variant. Disaster strike teams have already deployed to hospitals to help medical staff. A visit has not yet been planned by the department. Well, the bipartisan infrastructure bill has passed the Senate and now waits for approval in the House of Representatives. LBJ sat down with Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy to discuss how this bill will directly impact the state.
$17 billion, as an example, going to Army Corps of Engineers. And in that pot of money, $4.5 billion goes to restore coastlines in states that have been hit by natural disasters in the last 6 years. Whoa, that's us. By the way, there's a reason that it's us, but that helps when you're in the room.
Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy breaking down some of the benefits our state will get from the $1 trillion infrastructure deal. He was among 17 Republicans in the room to help seal the deal that included more for our region.
Resiliency, which includes $50 million for restoring Lake Pontchartrain's ecosystem. Normally, Lake Pontchartrain gets $1 to $3 million. $50 million over 5 years.
Support for the Senate passing was bipartisan, but did not include our other Louisiana Senator, John Kennedy.
Louisiana's losing money on this deal. That's why I voted against it.
The cost of the legislation is also why House Minority Whip Steve Scalise opposes the bill.
That's literally like handing a mortgage to every single child in America without a house. They're going to have to pay for this.
Cassidy, on the other hand, has no regrets for supporting the massive, historic legislation.
Now we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to rebuild our state, to decrease your risk of flooding if you're at risk of flooding, to restore our coastline because we know we're all at risk because of that. Lake Pontchartrain, southeast Louisiana, in a parish in which parishes in which Steve and John live on, $50 million to restore the ecosystem. Why wouldn't you be for it?
Okay, so you just heard from Senator Cassidy. The Senate voted for that bill. We'll continue our coverage of the infrastructure bill on the other side of this break. In studio, we ask Representative Garret Graves how he'll vote on it when it lands on the House floor. We'll tackle a few other issues as well. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters. This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. Looking ahead to the coming week, the Louisiana Commissioner of Administration, Jay Darden, will speak at the Baton Rouge Press Club. He plans to give an update on the state budget and the American Rescue Plan. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics. I'm Fred Childers. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you next Sunday right here on your local election headquarters.